Hi, guys, and welcome to what I'd like to think is an important edition on the Kevin Moore Show. Now, on today's show, we're going to be looking back, firstly, at an interview that I did back in 2012. Now, back then, I was broadcasting on Sky and a few other platforms, and one of the shows I did back then, along with a great crew that I was working with, was a show on male survivors of child abuse, which was broadcast on, I think it was around March time in 2012, but I can't be sure on that, but it was around that time. And this featured three guests. One was Graham Wilmer, who is the founder of the Lantern Project, a registered charity for abuse victims based in Liverpool. The other guest that came on was Paul Sanders. He's the founder of the National Association for People Abused in Childhood, NAPAC. And the final guest was Joe Peters. Now, Joe is the author of two books, Cry Silent Tears and Cry Myself to Sleep. And, when we found Joe, we found him, I believe, through, it was Amazon and also, review magazines, the magazines that he'd featured in. He was, quite a big story at the time. And what I want to do first of all is just to sort of recap that show that I did and just to play back portions of the intro just to show you some of Joe's story. Joe Peters' abuse started at age 5 when his mother found out that Joe's father was having an affair with her best friend. Joe's mother would physically abuse him to get her revenge, but he trusted his beloved father to protect him from the violence. However, when an accident saw his father burned to death in front of him, Joe was left at the mercy of his mother.
She did everything possible to get her revenge, and it never stopped from the day he died. She had the satisfaction of torturing me, and it got to a point where she couldn't bear to look at me. So the only solution was to put me down to a dark cellar.
Joe was kept in a dog cellar for the next 4 years, with only a dirty mattress and a bucket. Nobody even knew of his existence.
I was abused terribly, kicked, punched, tied to the pipes, rapidly beaten by my brothers. I was given scraps to be fed on, a dog bowl. My teeth deteriorated. It got so bad that they glued the top on some water, and my teeth would snap with me trying to take the lid off this bottle they glued together. I was treated unbelievable, worse than a dog could be treated. I wasn't allowed to leave that cellar. I was there, I never bathed or nothing.
He was sometimes left naked in the dark for 3 days without human contact. The only time when Joe was allowed out of the cellar was for his brothers to torture him as his alcoholic mother would watch.
It was an enjoyment thing for my mother, it was entertainment. I remember the faces and aggressiveness. I remember when they put me in between two chairs and tied me, and they beat me with a cane until I bled. And then I was sold to paedophiles then. They used to make me touch their private areas. They would physically try and penetrate me from behind. It was absolutely unbearable. They would come down and just choose me as and when they wanted to. She got to a point where my mother was paid as well, and the more she was paid, the more I was forced to do these things with different men.
Joe recalled his worst abuse when he was repeatedly raped by his stepfather, as his mother witnessed the scene with seeming enjoyment.
I refused his advances, and he bounced my head against the walls until I passed out. And then the next thing I realised, he penetrated me and then tied me, and for hours and hours, it went on for hours. I was demoralised. He was a horrible, horrible man. I would have to do these things to get fed. So, it was a survival thing. I behave, I would get fed. come close to dying many times. I was very thin. Had headaches. I was vomiting. It came to a stage where so many times I've seen the light of death, and I wanted so many times to die, and it came to a point where I had to hang on. There was a voice in my head, maybe my father, saying, "Hang on, son, hang on in there."
Well, that's Joe's side of the story, and I never thought I'd be doing this type of show where I would have the opposing opinion in this type of story, and I've done my best to sort of, vet the guests coming on right now. And we've got Joe Peters' daughter and Joe Peters' ex-wife, Michelle, coming on. Now, Michelle's coming on with her face blurred out for her own reasons, and I had no problem doing that. They verify in the interview that Joe is connected with them, and I've also done my own research to show that he is connected with this family, who are coming on now to tell the opposing opinion in this story. So, I just thought it was important that they can share their story as well as to what they went through with Joe Peters. And again, I'll say, Joe Peters is just a pseudo name. I'm not going to give his real name out here in this interview, nor have I contacted Joe to give a statement right now, because I wanted this to be unbiased, just like I gave Joe the chance back many years ago in 2012. I want this to be unbiased for his wife and his ex-wife, shall I say, and his daughter, and they're going to represent that side of the family as well. And probably this is one of the more important interviews I've done in a long while, and I think let's just get both Kirsty and Michelle on right now. Now, I've already taped this interview. This is already pre-recorded, and I did pronounce Kirsty's name incorrectly sometimes. I called her Christy. So just excuse me for that. But let's go into the interview right now, and let me just say, Kirsty and Michelle, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So I just want to say to begin with, right, now this is your truth, right? So if you was to swear right now, if you was in court, you'll be telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. This is the truth you're about to tell us, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I've even got my cross on. I'm quite a big believer.
We've actually said that we would do a lie detector test.
Yeah, a polygraph test. We'd do anything to prove that we are telling the truth.
Okay. Now, obviously, one thing I want to say before we start this interview as well is that you've got pictures. So just to be, obviously, Mum is probably going to be blurred out in this interview, but we've got pictures of Joe and the family. And some of the pictures coming up are with Joe and Shannon, which is one of the daughters. Other pictures that are going to come up on the screen are Joe and yourself, Michelle.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there was and if there's any other pictures, we'll type.
Yeah, there's another one with me as a baby.
Okay. So we'll put those on the screen as well, just to prove that you are connected to the, because people could say, well, who are these people coming on? They could be anyone, but you are, you brought the pictures out just before we started this interview. So I know, you've got in the family albums, they weren't even taken out. So Okay. So let's just go straight into it. It's a difficult show, this one, obviously, because for so many reasons, for the personal reasons that you're about to explain, and for reasons for myself as well. I mean, I interviewed your father, Christy, and your husband, Michelle. I want to say it was back in 2012 now. I think it was about that long ago now. And that was taped in Cardiff. And, of course, when you have someone like Joe on, well, you just don't... you take, they're published by HarperCollins. You don't expect there to be another side to the story completely, as to what we're about to speak to now. Thank you, Christy, for getting in contact with us like you did. And I know that the family, and stop me if I'm wrong here, I know the family had been trying to get in contact many, many years ago. Is that right?
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you guys first see the interview that I did with your dad? And how did that happen?
Told me. My friend told me that he was on YouTube. So I had a little look, obviously, and obviously I seen what it was, and then I showed my family, and I was like, well, my dad's on YouTube saying this and that. Obviously, I had to tell my mum because it was a photo of her at the end as well, and it's not up to him to have a photo of my mum up as well without her permission. Yeah. So I had to let my mum know as well.
Because obviously I got a new family as well now, so
yeah, of course,
you don't see it as well.
Of course. So Michelle, you were married to Joe, and how many years were you married to Joe for?
15 years.
15 years. So when did you get married to him?
We got married in 1997 in a registry office. It was hard 15 years, very, very hard.
Okay, and Christy, obviously you're in your early 20s now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know you've got a big story to tell here as well, and I appreciate both of you being so brave to come on to do this as well, because I know how uncomfortable this can be. Do you know what I mean? But why do you both, and in your own words, and I'll start with you, Christy, why do you want to come on? Why are you doing this right now?
Well, for me, to like my other sisters and brothers, obviously they're all working and everything now, and they've got over everything. But with my, I've got borderline personality disorder. So to get over this, I need to talk about it and move it on from my life. And once I've talked about it and everything's I got my justice and everything, I can move on then and start working and get on with my life. So that's why I want to do it. It's to benefit my mental health, so I can just get it over and done and speak about it and then move on and have my own kids and have a job and leave that in the past then.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I'm going to come back to your mum. And Christy, what has Dad done to you in a sense by doing what he's doing? If he's not telling the truth now, which I actually do believe you guys that he's actually not. He's not a victim of the abuse that he talks about. What is him coming out, talking like he has, and his actions towards you done to you over all these years?
It really infuriates me, to be honest with you, because it's not something to be. You can't be lying about abuse and all that. It's sickening. There's actually children who suffer. And then with him saying that he suffered all that abuse and then put us through it, it's just. He's mad. He's a liar. He's psycho. He's just nuts.
It's not fair.
No.
And Mum, with yourself as well, Michelle. Sorry, shall I say? What's his lies done to you in a sense? Obviously it destroyed your relationship, obviously, but what's the bigger picture it's done to you as well all these years?
I don't know. It just makes you feel like a bit of an idiot, to be honest, because people, question you about it and things like that. And I don't know the answers to it because he never told me about the abuse before until he started writing the books and things like that. So it was a bit like, where's this all coming from? And then he was trying to justify his behaviour by saying, it's because of what he went through and stuff. And I just thought, you can't. The way he was treating us all and what he was doing to us, it wasn't because of that at all. And his family then, obviously, he's dragged them through it. And it's all for nothing. So
you guys both represent the other family members, which there's many of, right? I'll just say that. There's many of. Yeah. And I think you guys coming on alone is just the right sort of mix right now. I said this to you just off air as well. So going back to yourself, Michelle. So, okay, living with Joe. Now, Joe's not his real name, actually.
No.
That's a pseudo name.
Yes.
All right. And I think it's best that we don't say his real name here right now. Let's just refer to him as Joe.
Okay.
And his Peters is not his last name neither. So Joe Peters is a complete pseudonym. So what was it like? What happened during your marriage leading up to him writing his book then?
he was just very controlling. Always lying to people while we were out. It was really embarrassing. It was the situations that I would be put in, like he would say something and then say to me, "Isn't that right?" and nudge me, and I'd have to like look at him or play along or something, because I was feeling an idiot, because he would lie about everything and anything. I didn't even know what was the truth in the end, because it was so bad. And he just started hitting, controlling. I couldn't have my own money, my own bank cards. It just escalated as the years went on. I got took away from my family, from my mum, my dad. My brother and my mum were constantly contacting every authority they could, trying to get them to come in and investigate to get us out. But he would move us all the time. So we moved from town to town so that we couldn't be found. So he kind of isolated us. And then once we were isolated, that was it. It just escalated and it just got out of control.
And what was some of that escalation?
Well, he was punching, he was kicking, he was pulling my hair, he'd have dragged me down the stairs. It was just constant. My head was cut open, I had black eyes. It was an all over nothing. Because I wouldn't say nothing to him. We would not rock the boat. We were walking on eggshells. We didn't dare say anything, because it would just tip him over the edge. You just didn't know what mood he was going to be in. The kids would ring me on their way home from school to say, what mood is he in? Because we had to get prepared before they come in through the door. It was horrific. I can feel my heart pounding now just speaking of it, actually.
Yeah. So this was a complete and utter controlled relationship.
Yes.
You'd lost Michelle.
Yeah. Completely.
Completely. Yeah. And I mean, how many times in your mind would go over the fact that you just wanted to get away from him?
Every single day. I would coach the kids up. I'd put them to bed, and I would say to them all the time we're going to be getting out of here. And I say all the time, we are going to get out of here. And I would lie in bed every night thinking, how are we going to do this? How are we going to get out of here? It was constantly on my mind, because I couldn't leave the house without him. If I went somewhere, he would time me. I'd have a cup of tea at a friend's house and he'd be ringing saying, what's going on here? And he'd be effing and blinding. You better get home now, because I'm going to kick you up. You get you, and it was horrific. And I'd be driving home, panicking, thinking, oh my gosh, this is not good again. So I didn't go out. And I was just visiting somebody for a cup of tea. I couldn't even pluck my eyebrows. It was that bad.
Wow. But were there times when there was a sweet side of him and you used to think to yourself, you know what, maybe we can work this out?
Yes. After all of when he got really mad, and they always say sorry, don't they, afterwards, and they'd be like, oh, I'll make it up to you, come on, we'll go on holiday, or I'll buy you a car or something. And I think, right, okay, maybe this time, we'd all sit down and say, right, let's try and work this out together. But it'd be a couple of hours, honestly, and then his mood would be gone again. Because if he wanted something, he would do it. He was right constantly. He would never, ever be in the wrong. You could never dare question him. He would convince you that the sky was green. I tell you. Friends were like that. They were just like, don't aggravate him, Michelle. Just don't do it, because you're just going to get him worse. And that's friends. I'd be on the phone to him and he'd pull the plug out of the phone while I was in mid conversation. Yeah. Well,
I almost want to say to you guys, this is your book. This isn't his book. This is your book.
Our friends have said that.
Yeah, they said
you could write an amazing book.
You guys should be writing an amazing book on this. You really should. Yeah.
It's like all the kids, when we finally left, the sigh of relief. I have never seen my kids so relieved as that day. We had nothing. We slept on friends' floors, on sleeping bags.
Oh, it was better.
But they loved every minute of it, because they knew they could be them.
What was that like for yourself when you had actually, after all those years, Michelle, of saying to yourself, I'm going to get out of it, I'm going to get out, I'm going to do it. And I bet you said to yourself, I bet you meant it, you really meant it to yourself, and I bet you were shocked sometimes that you never followed through with it, were you?
No, I was shocked, because what was doing me was, I thought I could stick this out a little bit longer and I could get out myself, but I've got to get these 5 kids out. And that wasn't the easiest thing, because if I ever done anything wrong in that day, he would say that he was going to hit the kids then, so that I'd have to watch him smack the kids, because he knew that would break my heart more than anything. It was the kids, and I just kept thinking, oh, I can't do this, because any mistake was made was back on the kids. So when I actually done it, I mean, to get out, I had to get an injunction.
Yeah.
I had to have it planned. My best friend, who was a nurse at the time, had to sit with him. I had to pretend I was going shopping to get him some stuff. She entertained him, and I went and got an injunction that morning in the court, and they served it that night. That was the only way we were going to get out.
And what happened? What was his mood like when that was served to him?
He went absolutely mental. The guy who served the injunction from the police, and the police had to come out, and they had to take us out.
When you look back now, right, and you think of all the neighbours and all the friends that you had back in that previous relationship, did you keep in contact with any of those friends? Do they know what you went through?
No, they didn't.
Do they know where you ended up?
From town to town, a lot of them didn't know what we went through. They said they knew something wasn't right. They know it. They said you could tell by his mannerisms, the way that he spoke, the way that he shouted. They said that was enough, because he would shout at us in public. And they said, if he's like that in public, what's he like at home? So they knew that it wasn't great, but they didn't know the full extent until I've got all my friends back now. They've all come back.
Wonderful. And what was his jobs at the time? What was he doing? Was it just odd jobs, or what was it?
He was just sitting at home. I did actually try to go to uni and things. I wanted to go to work, and he was like, well, no, you either get a job and, a good job and keep us, or you don't go to work. You're staying where I am. And it was horrific. But when I left, I went to college. I done what I wanted to do, and he still found me where my car was parked in college, wasn't it? I was getting messages when I was not even with him. When I had started a new relationship and I was trying to train and do stuff, he was actually knowing where I was and what I was doing.
Did you have to call the police for any of that?
Or college as well, because I said I need to hide my car and things, and they were really good about it. But it was constant.
I mean, when you look at the relationship you're in now, what did you learn? I mean, when you look back now, I mean, you must be in such a different headspace and so appreciative of what you've got now in the relationship you've got now.
This is living now, isn't it? It's like I have my own money. I have my own car. I go where I want, when I want. He never questions me. I do say to him, actually, why do you think, if I'm a couple of hours, how are you not? And he said, it's your life, babe. I'm not your keeper. You're your own person. I trust you completely. This is your life. Live it. You don't need me on your back. Go and do what you've got to do. And I'm here.
And he's done everything for us as well.
He's
all
amazing.
Of us kids. He's done everything for us. He took us on holidays. He got us back on track, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like when we lost it, like when we obviously left, and we kind of all went a bit nuts. He's the one who brought us into line. He helped us out. He made us behave in school, and he said, you need to do this. He's good as gold.
He's lush, isn't he?
Good as gold.
Proper relationship.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful to hear. Well, look, I mean, obviously you sharing your story right now is going to help a lot of people out there that you'll never meet, right? You'll never know they watched it, but they are going through something similar, all right? So that's why it's important. And like I said to you before, the book, this is an amazing story you guys have got, and it could be part of your healing as well. I'm not saying you have to do it, of course. I'm just saying, it's, the tables are turning.
Because like I say, there's a lot. I mean, my other children suffered immensely. Like my one boy sneezed, so we had to punch in the nose, and his nose was bleeding because he sneezed, and I
threw him
in a cold bath because of it. Because of germs.
And he was grounded for a month, and he had to face the wall and sleep in bed for a month.
He literally would make him stand in the corner for hours on end. They put him to bed for a month, and they would stay in bed facing the wall. They weren't allowed to do anything. It was beyond, the punishment was beyond. When I was pregnant on Shannon was my worst ever beatings. I will never forget it. It was horrific. And now Shannon has learning problems, because we don't know why she was like that, and the doctors said they don't know, and I think it was due to the stress and what I was going through, but I couldn't tell him. And Shannon, she was, well, you said as well that she was pushed on the stairs, wasn't you?
Yeah,
she broke her hand.
She was pushed down the stairs. He like pushed my sister with his hip, and she went tumbling down two sets of stairs. It was bad, wasn't it?
She broke her hand, but obviously I'd come out of the bathroom at that point and I just seen her going down, so I tried to grab her and she broke her hand, but I didn't know any of this until they said years ago, Mum, you weren't there and you didn't see what he done. And I believe them totally, because they've got no reason to lie about it, and I know what he done to the others. I know how bad that the others went through and what I went through. I had my head cut open, I've had black eyes. Yeah.
That happened in front of us. We all witnessed her head being cut open because she couldn't find a receipt.
I mean, those memories stay with you, don't you? You may have been young, but they were. I mean, it's one thing. I mean, it's one thing that adults, argue in front of the children, right? This is a whole different level. This is a whole different level. But I mean, a lot, people watching this will say, well, how do we know they're telling the truth? I mean, how can we believe them? I mean, what? Where's the proof?
That's what we always say, though, isn't it? We know what happened, and when the kids talk about, my oldest boys, they don't want to know. They're like, don't speak about it. I can't do it. They can't. They went through quite a bit more than the girls, so they can't do it. But the girls talk about it. I think it's a bit of therapy for them. But we can't prove it because, like I said, I never rang the police about the bruises. Had I rang them, he would have been in prison for it. For what he'd done. Having my head cut open and the blood coming down my face.
Oh, it was traumatising, man.
There were actually incidents where we were in an Argos, actually, in a car park. And he was screaming and shouting that somebody called the police and gave the registration number of the car. And when we got back to the house, the police had turned up. And I had to lie on the doorstep because he was literally behind me, holding my jumper, pinching me. And I just thought, I can't say it, because I thought maybe this was my opportunity. I'm going to say it now while they're here. I'm going to say, I need you to help me. But I couldn't. And we had there was a murder as well in our town. And the father killed the wife and the 4 children. And my friends were running around just going mental, thinking it was me. So for people to think that.
Obviously, we've got Joe's mum in the picture as well. I'm just going to call her Anne just for now. And with Anne, I mean, was Anne in the picture at all, Michelle? Was Joe's mum? Did you get to meet her much? Was she there? Did he include her much?
And the girls got to stay with her as well. It was a couple of weeks, wasn't it? In the summer holidays, they went up and stayed with her for a couple of weeks, and then. This is what we said, after all this abuse come out, we said, why on earth would he leave his children with somebody who's caused so much abuse if it was true?
And we loved it up there as well. That 2 weeks was amazing. This is when we learned to ride our bikes, 2 wheels and all, on 2 wheels. They taught us loads of things. They took us out swimming. It was the best 2 weeks of our lives.
Yeah, because you weren't allowed to do anything like that at home.
Right, absolutely. So let's just go to Joe's dad, because obviously in the book Joe talks about he saw his father, killed in front of him by was it a garage fire or something?
He says that. I mean, I don't know how true it is. I know his mum said that obviously he did die. It was to do with the garage, but she wouldn't go into too much detail because she was absolutely traumatised. She was ripped apart by it. So I don't know the full extent of what he saw, what Joe saw. So obviously, that is true that, it was a traumatic experience for him. And, I get that as a young boy. I don't know how you get over losing a parent. I don't.
Okay, so that could have been that there's some truth in that. That's fair enough. And Christy, go into yourself as well. And thank you, Michelle, for everything you've said there as well. Christy, what was some of the things that you find difficult to really help you move on from the healing that you need with living with Dad in those years that you did? I mean, what are some of the things that really have never left you?
I'd say my mum's head being cut open. That was really bad. She used to come up in my room and she used to cuddle up in my bed when he used to be nasty to her. So that, also obviously my brother being thrown in the bath, that was quite traumatic also. There's a few things, to be honest with you. I've actually written down. My mum went away for a week, wasn't it? In New York.
4 days.
Or 4 days. To New York, and obviously we were left with my dad, and he chased my sister up the stairs until she peed herself. So obviously then he hit her for weeing herself. Also, I've been grabbed up by my throat also as well, and he punched me. And we weren't allowed to move out of bed until he was out of bed. Yeah. And obviously my sisters at the time, they were only little, so they were running out of bed, and I told them, quick, get back into bed, because I can hear him come in. Yeah. I said, just pretend to be asleep and I'll deal with it. So they pretend to be asleep, and he come in every single room, and obviously I was next. He come in mine, obviously see me awake, and he punched me. When he punched me, my nose popped and I had blood everywhere, and obviously my mum couldn't get to me. He wouldn't let her get to me.
Get up there.
So I just laid there. So that's never really left me either.
None of that leaves any of us, really, does it?
No, not at all. What else have we got here? He made us stand up against the wall for hours, as 3 girls and the boys, with our hands on our heads. So obviously it was a lot painful for being kids as well, standing for hours, especially with our hands on our heads. We used to have to ask to go to the toilet. Yeah. We used to have to empty his wee jug. He used to wee in like in a milk carton and make us empty it.
Because he wouldn't get out of bed.
He wouldn't get out of bed and do anything.
We had to do everything for him.
Yeah, it was a lot of things.
It was horrific.
Yeah.
It was proper control on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it wasn't just control on yourself, Michelle. Obviously, it was control on the kids, and in total as well. How many kids were there in that house when you guys were 5?
Good.
Yeah.
Very good at putting on a show to everybody, wasn't he? Very. Oh gosh, yeah. You could walk the walk and talk the talk, and put on a massive, a different way, a different attitude in front of people. He was.
Like one time, my friend, he was like he took us all like roller skating and like. Being really nice to our friends, and I was like thinking in my head, oh, he's not that nice to us at home. Yeah. Then he's being nice to them. So what are we doing so wrong? And they come up to us going, oh, your dad's the best. We wish you had a dad like yours. And I was like, obviously we didn't say anything because it's behind closed doors. So I was just thinking, no, you really don't want a dad like mine. But we couldn't say anything.
No, of course not. And well, thank you for what you just shared there as well. And Michelle, obviously, what sort of year did you leave, Joe? Was that
2010.
2010?
Yeah.
2010. Now, obviously, his book, Cry Myself to Sleep, had been published in 2009. So, leading up to the publishing of that book, did you both read it before it was published, or did he make you read it, or?
I didn't read it.
He made me read it.
He made, because I didn't really I said to him I didn't want the kids ever reading it, because I was a bit sceptical on it, and I thought if it's too in depth, because as he was trying to say about what he was going to put in the book and stuff, I thought I don't think it's appropriate for these lot to hear this. They had their own issues and own problems to deal with at the time, and I just didn't want them bombarded with a lot more, because I really was scared of how they were all going to turn out, to be honest, because I didn't think we were going to get them to a good place when they got to adults, because it was too much trauma. So I didn't want them, but you've read it. I only knew bits that were going in it, and I said, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to. I helped him a little bit with the grammar, because when he was writing it was all wrong. So I done a little bit of grammar, and then obviously HarperCollins went and done it all and took over and done what needed to be done to make it readable and sellable.
And obviously, thank you. And obviously, Christy, you read it as well. And when you read that, could you believe that that's what your dad had gone
through? To be honest,
through?
I didn't believe any of it, only because obviously I've met my nan and my uncles, and they're the most loveliest people. They're soft, they're sweet. Yeah. And my uncle actually told me when I got in contact with him that my dad actually pulled me from his arms and said that you're never seeing him again. And we were screaming, saying, don't let us go back, don't let us go back. So I don't believe anything he says, to be honest.
And with them mourning us as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if you spoke to the brothers, they would say what he's like and how dangerous they feel he is.
Yeah, because obviously in the book he talks about, being raped, by his brothers. his stepbrothers as well. I think he called them stepbrothers in the book.
Yeah, and some of them are step. He's got, his mum was married before she married his father. So there's a couple of step sisters and brothers, and then there's him and his 2 real brothers from the same dad.
Okay. But obviously, when he was in the relationship with you for all those years, Michelle, he never once talked about any abuse, did he?
All in the beginning, nothing, not up until he started considering writing the book. And then I was getting...
What made him, can you remember, what made him consider writing that book?
I can't remember. It was just, just one of his ideas that he gets, because he did get quite a few ideas and never went through anything. And it just came up, and I never really took much notice, if I'm honest, because I thought, I don't know what he's on about. I don't know where he's going to go with this, and I didn't think anything would come of it, to be honest with you. And then he was writing it, and he sent a little bit off to HarperCollins, and they come back and said, yeah. And I couldn't believe it. He was going to be a published author after what he was putting the kids through. I couldn't believe it.
And I believe that obviously it's been a decent seller as well. I know that much.
Yeah.
Yes, he has. Yeah, which that's fine. But the thing here is, judging from the way he treated you guys, I mean, could you say that the way he treated you was due with some post-traumatic stress that he'd gone through in his childhood?
I don't know. I just think he just wanted to. I think he had this planned when he married you. I think he just planned it all out.
When I first met him, and people were saying, like, do you know him? You don't know him. You don't know much about him. Just be careful. And I did wonder then. I thought, well, why? There's not something that people say to you when you first meet somebody to warn you about that person. It's not the norm, is it? People are happy for you, and this is good, new relationship. Everyone was just not happy and was warning us, and I didn't take any notice. I didn't.
And were these people that were from your side of the family, or people that knew Joe?
A lot of people that from my side of the family. My parents hated him the minute they saw him. And my parents have never hated anyone. They're so easygoing and such lovely people. And our house was always an open door, and half of the town were always in our house. So they would never, be like that. And they absolutely, the minute they saw him, a lot of my other family members did. A lot of friends did. It was just, he'd come from Birmingham to this town and nobody liked him. And I don't know, he's just, I don't know, he lies all the time. Like he was telling the school that he was a doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Working in the army. Yeah, he's worked in the army. It's bizarre. I don't know where he comes up with all the ideas. I really don't.
No, absolutely not. I mean, obviously, just go into the book as well. He talks about he talks about your nan Christy, and obviously he talks about at age 7 his schizophrenic mother and his 2 older brothers spent the following years beating him, raping him, and locking him in a cellar at the family home. I mean, obviously, if Gran was here, Joe's mum, that would be completely denied, that there was no locking in a cellar, there was no beating, there was no raping.
She actually, I got a message off my cousin who said that they were going to come on the show, but obviously my nan said I don't have to prove myself because what he said is sickening. She goes, and I have to face people.
She does.
And she feels embarrassed by it. So that's the only reason they didn't come on.
She doesn't
I shouldn't have to prove myself. She don't.
No, she don't. No, absolutely not. Because he also goes on to say that mum was paid by men to, my mum was paid by groups of men for these men to have sex with her.
No, I don't. I mean, no. Yeah. No. So, in the family and knowing, no.
Yeah. He talked about, I remember this on the interview, he talked about, and maybe this was off air on the interview, but I'm pretty sure it was in the interview where, I mean, this isn't, nice stuff, but he talks about, his mum's stepfather at the time raping him in front of her.
Any of it's true. I don't believe any of it's true.
I don't. I mean, you've got a very close-knit family up there, and somebody would have raised the alarm.
They're a big family as well. Very big family.
Yeah.
Well, what I don't get as well, and I was speaking to this to my team, was, well, if his mum sold him to this paedophile group, which I now do not believe whatsoever, right? Speaking to yourselves and getting to know yourself as well, Christy, over time, that we've been speaking as well, which is many, many, many weeks right now. Surely, okay, Gran's in her 80s. Is that what we're going to say? She's in her, right? I mean, surely someone would have been charged by now. So surely some historic abuse would have been brought forward, like it has been.
My family, and some of them blocked me because they're actually that scared that he's going to come after them.
Yeah, they didn't.
So they actually blocked me because they said, and they actually generally thought he put me to the test.
Yeah.
They were saying, "Is this Jamie on your daughter's Facebook?"
They did it with me as well.
Yeah,
they didn't want to speak at first because they said, we don't know if it was you on Facebook, if you were adding us, or if it was him, because he does it all the time. He hacks into the Facebook.
Yeah.
He put trackers on the phones trying to find where the girls were.
We had to be picked up early from school.
Yeah.
So we didn't wait outside and catch us. So
but once they found out it was you, then it was all right.
Yeah.
Luckily. But everybody does get very weary of him because you don't know what he's going to do next.
Well, of course, and of course, you guys aren't, if anyone's watching this and they want to try and find you, you have made sure that, you've taken the steps to make sure that your identity is protected, and that, especially from Joe. But going back to the historic abuse claims, back in England, right, people can go back in time now and put cases forward, right? Just like the Jimmy Savile cases and many, many others that have come forward recently. So why has he never gone to put charges against his mum?
We're thinking of going for historical abuse ourselves.
Yeah.
If the boys are strong enough to do this, because we do rely on the boys, because they went through an awful lot.
They took a lot more for us.
Yeah.
If they could, they would.
They would take it for them because they wouldn't see the girls going through it.
Yeah, they did try and take most of them.
Liam, bless him, my one boy took a punch in her nose, and for the youngest one, because she crumbled her biscuit on the car seat, and he lost it, and he pulled her from the side of the car and said it was him, and he took the iodine instead. It was that kind of thing. So if I could get the boys on track, I'd love to take it for historical abuse. So.
But the historic abuse side of as well for his mum. I mean, okay, some people will say, well, yeah, the reason he's not gone for historic abuse with his mum and the stepbrothers is because it's so old right now. Why, she's in her 80s. Why would you do that to someone? But at the same time, if this book was true, surely someone's going to pay a price somewhere.
People to justice and make sure that they're not doing it to anybody else. Because if they've done it to him and it's a paedophile ring, they will be doing it to hundreds of poor innocent children that need stopping.
Well, absolutely. And he talked about as well on the show, I'm sure he did, that, video image was taken, photographs were taken, and I don't think anything's ever been matched, in any police raids to him, I'm pretty sure. He talked about as well on the interview that he was the youngest person ever to go to prison at 16 and a half.
I don't know about his prison sentence, and I don't know what he's...
True.
He doesn't, when I met him, he hasn't said any of this. So you don't know what to believe.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we might be dealing with someone here that's that's I know on his Facebook page he put on at November 29th 2018 that he'd had a serious, someone posted this on his behalf, that he had a serious breakdown, and under Section 2 he had been held in a psychiatric intensive care unit. Now, why would you put that on your Facebook page if it wasn't true? And if it is true, then there's obviously a man there that's not in the best mental situation right now. And the thing is,
if he isn't in the best mental situation, he's around children again, and this really does worry us. I
really worry about him as well, because they are so little.
Panicking, yeah, and this is why she tried, to make some sort of contact for a little bit to see the kids, and she come back and said, "Ma'am, it's happening with him. The oldest one is petrified. I can see it in him. He's scared." And she said, and I've had to say, we can't help Kirsty. We've tried, and you know, you were there when he hit his.
Yeah, it breaks my heart.
He hit the wife in front of you, didn't he?
Yeah,
And
because she accidentally crashed the car, and she actually, I know she shouldn't say this, but she actually did a hit and run because she got scared because she said, "Your dad's he's gonna go nuts." I said, "Yeah, he is." So we were actually hiding in a pub because he told us to go and hide there until he got there, and like he does this weird thing with his hands. So when he's angry, he used to like bite his hands like that. So we knew we were in trouble. So he was walking up biting his hands. So I thought, oh, we're in trouble. I thought he was going to go for me, but he never. He was just flicking his hands in my face like this at first, and then he turned to his they're married, wife now, and hit her in the stomach because she was actually pregnant at the time with her second. So
he loses control at the flick of a switch. It's unreal. Really don't know where it is, what mood he's in what second.
Yeah, he's unpredictable.
And you went to see Dad because you felt that you had to go there for what reason? You wanted to just see if those kids were okay.
I just wanted to make sure my brothers were okay. Obviously, I've seen bruises on them as well in photos. I've actually got like photos of them. They've got bruises on their legs and their eyes and everything. So after I seen that, I thought, well, I'm older now. So if I went down there, if he did go for them, I can stand up and fight for them instead of them taking it. Just because obviously they are my brothers at the end of the day. They are related to me.
It was just toxic, wasn't it? Because the wife was just too much, and she said they are actually a good match. They are quite a perfect match. They're bouncing off each other.
And there were guns on the wall. He had guns on the wall, and he said they were loaded. And I was like, right, okay, so maybe I shouldn't have come. I risked my life basically to go down there, or risk being beaten again or something, But I just went down there to make sure my brothers are okay.
Because you come home and said about the guns, didn't you? She came home and said, Mum, he's got guns on the wall now. And I was like, oh.
Yeah. And I think obviously the laws in the UK, I think you can, if you've got a license, you can get a rifle, can't you? I think you can, hunting license. I mean, I don't know the full ins and outs of it, but there's something.
I thought they have to be locked
I
away.
think they do. I'm pretty sure they do, unless they're fakes. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure they do.
It could be fake mines. It could be just a scare thing.
Yeah. I would say probably that is what they truly are. Oh my gosh, I mean, in your minds, both of you. Then, I mean, what was the main reason for you coming on today? Then, if you just reflect back on what we've said and where we are now.
I think to show people that he's not what he is.
Yeah, and show
because
who
it's scary.
He really is. Yeah,
he's around too many vulnerable people. If he's going to be an advocate for people who have, child abuse and children, and if he's fighting for them, this is not good. This is probably more of a way for him to get with the kids more, and that worries me.
Yeah, and all he cares about as well is the money.
Yeah, he's not.
That's all he's doing. He don't care about the kids. He don't care about anyone but himself and his money.
Yeah,
that's all he cares about.
I mean, when we left, I left in the house that was bought outright. I left the cars on the drive.
We left nothing.
He took everything. I left furniture,
washing machines.
Everything was left behind, and I just got the kids and ran. And he's quite happily sat with all the money. He's been off jetting around the world, buying fast cars all the time. And I've had to go right back from the bottom, go back to a council house, train, go to work, and finally get to where I am now. And it's been hard graft with 5 damaged children as well.
And Michelle, if you can do that, right, you're a beacon to other women who are going through the same thing, right, and I know that they can come out the other end as well. You really are, because this can happen.
At the time, you don't think it.
No, you don't.
You don't.
No,
you are a strong woman, though, man.
Exactly, and I don't think as well it matters what age you are when you're going through this, because it could be at any age this can happen, can't it?
Yeah. You were still young then as well when you got married. So
I was very young when I got married. I was in my 30s when we got out.
Well, which is still young, which is still young. 30s is still young, right? Yeah, to get out. I mean, but yeah, I bet. You look back on like I said before, and like, wow, you're here now telling your story. Think about the old you. If you could give a message, Michelle, to the old you, what would it be?
Don't be so don't take people like at face value. Don't rush into anything, because I was very naive. I believed everything anyone said. I trusted everyone. I don't now. I work people out now. I don't open up. I'm very private. I think I just rushed in, and I should have weighed up the situation.
Yeah.
I've told these now, don't rush into anything. Work people out. Be careful when you get boyfriends.
She, like, when we got friends
Really?
and boyfriends, she meets them and she don't like them, she'll tell us, and we have to get rid of them, because she obviously with everything she's been through, that's why she's acting that way.
I kind of work people out a little bit more now. I don't think you can trust people at face value anymore. You really have to be careful. And I wish I was like that when I was younger. I really do.
If you both had, and I'll start with you, Christy, if you had a message for people that have been through the same thing as you, what would that message be?
To carry on, just keep going strong, and if you need therapy or you need meds or anything to help out with that for the meantime, do it. But the most important thing is to speak out about it, because I mean, if you speak out, it does help, and it's actually classed as therapy as well. So if you speak out, and get some help and support, it's
there's people will help. We didn't speak out because we were embarrassed, and we didn't think that we would actually get the help, and then we'd be stuck back in the house with him, having already spoken out, and then the situation would be worse. But it's not. They do. If you speak to it in school, they won't let you home.
No.
People come, they'll take you up. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to be stuck and left in that situation where you're getting hurt. Somebody is going to step in and help.
I mean, obviously, you and for yourself, Michelle, that'll be your message as well. Speak out. Yeah, speak out. And there'll be someone there to help. Yeah, that's a beautiful message. And obviously, you coming on here, would there ever be a day, do you think, for both of you, where there could ever be any healing with I'll call him Joe for now, with Joe Peters?
I don't think we'll ever get over it.
No, I don't even like seeing his face. Like, when I look at his face, it makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
So we just want him to leave us alone. And obviously we just want to make sure my brothers are okay. And that's the main thing for me, is just make sure my little brothers are okay and he stays out of our lives.
People not to trust him at face value, because he's not what he says he is.
Yeah.
And he's dangerous, and I worry about people that are around him.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, he's been around very good friends of his who have had to come and knock my door to say that we've got to tell you there's something wrong here, because he phoned the police when I tried to take him on holiday to say the passports were stolen.
Yeah,
he was going to let us get to the airport and then get arrested at the airport for having stolen passports. I thought, what's he doing? It was weird.
Well, let me ask you the question. I'm going to ask you the question from this perspective as well, to both of you, and I'll start with you, Christy, as well first. It's like, if you could look at anything positive that you've been through, and look at the positive of it, how positively, in a good way, what have you learned from this in a positive way? Would you say that you can say, look, I've learnt this, and I'm grateful for Dad teaching me this?
To be honest, I think with me, I'm a lot stronger, so I've come out as like, I'm strong, no one can beat me, no one can bring me down, no one can say words don't hurt me no more. I've come out as a stronger person, me, and that's the main thing.
And you have, and I think you're so brave, right, to come on right now to do what you're doing, because this is not easy. This is not easy, right? And for you to want to share your story for other young women as well, I think that's the most important thing you did right now. So thank you so much for what you did as well. Big pat on the back, honestly, for what you did. I mean,
Thank you for letting us share our story.
Oh no. When I realized what you were saying to me when I first spoke to you, I was like, oh, whoa. I need to take a look back and think what I did as well, to not question when there maybe were red flags in front of me as well, and I didn't think about it at the time, and now I would be a lot more careful, in some of the people that I do interview, and do a few more background checks as well before I did that. But it's not always so straightforward. But thank you for thank you for your gift for coming on, and for yourself, Mum, as well. When you look back now, what is a positive thing that Joe taught you as well, in a good way?
Not to take crap off anybody. I watch for warning signs. You can work people out. If I look back now, I could have worked him out a bit quicker, I think, with his actions, his behaviour, and I tend to do that a lot more now, which does me good, because then we don't have, bad people in our lives or negative people in our lives. We work people out a lot more. I'm stronger now. There's no way anybody will ever do that to me again, ever, and they will not do it to my kids either. And it's nice to have that. He has made us a bit, if anything, stronger.
Yeah. Now,
He's really opened our eyes to what goes on.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for that as well. Now, I know there's one thing we didn't touch on where we don't. There are other siblings involved here, and there are younger than as well, and there was some allegations that Joe could have also as well have been doing some things that were completely inappropriate as well. I don't know how much I want to say right now, but there are those in the family that's still not told their story of what they went through completely, have they?
Yeah, and that bit is the bit we got to be careful of, because he will not. The one would not want this out.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to say what it was. I mean, I've been told in confidentiality, and I don't want to say. I'm just saying there's more to this story than meets the eye.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, a lot more.
Yeah, and it's worse than what.
And we went through years of it, didn't we? Years until we got out as well. So years of loads of things have happened, and I mean.
Yeah, and again, and when those people are ready, if they're ever ready, and it doesn't matter if they, they don't need to go public with their stories. Maybe just confiding in yourselves. That's good enough. Do you know what I mean?
That's what we're kind of waiting for, is the one to just say, and we can help. But I don't think it's going to be anytime soon.
Yeah, and that's okay. Everything in its own right time, right? I'm just saying.
I think for a man, though, I think as well, they found more embarrassing, didn't they? Because
of course,
and people think, men are meant to be strong, men are meant to be this.
Of course. But you know what? You can't stop what happened, and I just wanted to end it on that, just to say that there was more, and whether we include this bit in the interview or not, we'll consider that later on. Okay. Well, let me just say to you both, I just want to say lastly, just thank you so much, both of you, for being so brave and coming on right now. I so appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot as well, for letting us share our story.
Get off our chest a bit.